Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. I hope you guys have all been well, and happy Thanksgiving weekend to everybody. So the main topic today I'm going to talk about is where we are now, what I see in the world, and thank God that my oven, I hate that. I always do I make my food, I take my shower, I come out, I clean a bit, and that thing goes and makes for videos. But so that will be the topic. But I have things to get to first. So I hope you guys have been well. Let me see here. I just wanted to address some things, talk about some things, and before I get to this topic. And I haven't written anything down about this, but sometimes at the beginning of my videos, like, there's so many things I want to address that I do. I'm forgetting I'm not the best with remembering the handle names or the usernames. But I think it's like Shan Core or something like that. My book, and I don't openly endorse my book. If you'd like to read the book that I wrote, the reason I wrote my book wasn't for selling on my Christian YouTube channel. It was because of the things I went through in my life, and it was a great relief to get that down on paper. Because I felt that no one ever understood what I went through until I wrote my autobiography. So you're in the UK. Someone else had asked me that before, and they said they finally got the book. I don't know exactly how they did it, but there is a way, I believe, because someone from Ireland was able to get my book. Anyways, it's on Amazon, and you should be able to get it. You may have to go to .ca. So you may have to do it that way. I know I can order things from .com and probably .uk, but there may be import fees or something like that. So this is just my introduction. Guys, I went through absolute hell. Absolute hell with my face, and it's still going on. But that infection was horrific. The pain of my face was at a level 10, and it was going above that. You may not understand when people say that, but it's possible. It was just brutal, and I think it's probably the most painful thing that you can go through. That's what I believe. I think facial pain is the worst. I mean, I have some other selected things that I go through, but I would rather choose those over this. So you want to know what happened to my face? Other than that, something else happened, because I was left with something. I'm like, what the heck happened? And just like every other time with the diseases that I suffer with and muscular disorders, it was me who figured it out and brought the papers to them. My jaw, from either the injections in the back to take a molar out, to get, to make room for my partial denture, it says that multiple injections of anesthetic, or your mouth being open in a prolonged manner, which it was. So this was over an hour. I specifically remember having to say, I gotta stop, about 3 different times. Usually I'm pretty good. And so, what do you do when this has been my life. What happens when you get that infection and then that covers up something else that's going on? I sprained my jaw. That's what happened. I sprained my jaw. Just like my back, I sprained my back. sprain, strain, there is a difference. I don't know which one it is for sure, but they have the same symptoms. So it's day to day, just like any other part in your body. Your muscles and your tendons can rip. So it's like the masseter all the way from the cheekbone, the muscle. I just don't, you don't even want to set it off all the way back. It's going all over my face. So there was. I had a sprained jaw and a gum infection. A horrible mixture. I don't know how long that sprained jaw will last. I just wanted to say to Willow, the point of me making that very short video of what would hell look like, I'm not saying that's what hell would look like, but eternally burning, eternal separation from God, no love and all that type of stuff. I just put that there, and I'm not asking people, if you're searching to be pure, don't watch horror movies. I don't recommend watching any of them. I put that there to make a point. That was the scariest movie I ever watched. And I watched that in my basement when I was younger, when I was smoking marijuana, and I also don't recommend that. Came home late at night, one night, it was like a weekend or something, it was probably like 1 in the morning. I'm in my basement, and the window wells are just small windows, so it's like a closed basement pretty much. And this is the part I didn't say. So there I am watching it on a big screen TV, and really like one of those old big screen TVs. They're huge, and it was just me in the room. It was completely dark, and over on another couch was, so I was watching those parts. I was watching that movie while there was a little doll, like a Chucky doll, that my mother had made. You look at it and you would think it was just like that. I thought that thing was going to come alive. I'm not kidding you. Anyways, I realized, this is important, okay? I realized watching horror movies were my favorite movies. That and fantasy movies. The very last horror movie that I watched, I don't watch movies at all. I may watch one a year. If it's good enough, and people tell me it's good enough, then I might do that. But too much of my life I spent doing that. It was a waste of time. This is what we are not meant to do. It's distraction from God. Anyway, the movie I was watching, the very last horror movie, which was about 4 years ago, was the most recent Jason movie, put on, I believe, by Rob Zombie, of who I also love to listen to. No longer do. Let me be a few if they're not satanic. But in that movie, the death and violence are so real that I realized from that point I cannot do this anymore. I don't feel right doing that. And I had just been recently born again. Okay? So if it was before that, I may have, but you're just like, what is it? It says in the Bible, God, something about people who put their hands up to not see bloodshed and stuff like that. Remember David, right? King David. He wanted to build a temple for God and do all this type of stuff, but what did God say? You've shed too much blood. That says something. It does something to you. And I don't know exactly. I can't pretend to know what that whole meaning is, but long introductions. I still have something to say. Just give me a second, please. So as I'm talking here, just like, like if you have a string back, the more you move or twist around, the more it starts to act up. I can feel it acting up as I'm speaking. So I appreciate all your kind comments. Most of my comments are kind, I find. I try to live a pure life. And I expect that a lot of my comments would be nice. You know, when it's necessary, I do speak in the comments, but honestly, I don't have a lot of time because of my schooling now, and because of volunteering, and because of a lot of other stuff, including a new motorcycle, which, by the way, boy, is that ever a feeling of freedom. I never had my own car. I'm 45, I'll be 46 very, very soon. Next month, I'll be 46. And boy, is it ever a feeling of freedom. So I have not found, you know, a lot of time to get into debates and all that type of stuff. I don't want to debate anyways. The things I put out, yes. Are there times where I've been wrong? Absolutely. I'll make a video on if I believe I am wrong. I do look twice. I spend a lot of time looking into the things that I believe in, what I think matters, and what debates are just pointless. And there are people out there who just debate to debate. There are people on my channel who just want to watch it and say something to throw me off, by the way, which it doesn't. You never can. Because I know there are people out there on every single channel. Anyone who has over 500 subscribers has a hater and haters. So it's important not to do that. It is important to answer some good things, but anyway. What was the other thing I was going to say? And then I'll get to this. I went to I don't have insurance, like I don't have a full-time job, so I don't have like insurance that way. My work doesn't pay if I hurt my back, that type of thing. And which I'm working my way towards, by the way. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, artificial intelligence. I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to know I wanted to have my back mapped out of the places that are strained. I know there are 8 places, but I want to know the names. I want it written down on a piece of paper. And I want to know what I can do about them. So I looked on the internet and said that what is the name of those specialists? Not a physiatrist, not psychiatrist, I mean physiatrist. There was another one that specializes in stretching your muscles. Starts with a P. Usually I'm pretty good with this stuff. Anyways, it says that they are absolutely able to deal with muscular, bad backs, all that type of stuff. And they have their doctorate. And so I went there, went on my motorcycle on a rainy day, and I went in, and almost right from the beginning, I just kind of knew this guy didn't know what he was doing. It was almost $200 for an appointment. And here I am with a strained back. I have adhesive arachnoiditis in my spine. I tell him these things, of course, because I filled out and I wrote him a note ahead of time as he wanted me to. And so I go in, and he asked me to lie on my face. So I lie on my face on like you would call a like a massage table. And you just get those feelings that this person doesn't know what they're doing. He was from the Netherlands, he had moved a long time ago, but a deep accent. And I didn't sense any medical knowledge in this guy. So I get on I lie on my face, and with a strained back, you probably shouldn't do that. But I'm at the point where it's healing, okay? So I lie down, and he kind of, I don't know, from the side, he gets kind of, on my back, and I say, be careful. He pushes down my trapezius, which I tore both sides. Just horribly tore, man. And I kind of knew something. He pushed in a way. I told him to be careful. He pushed in a way, and it retore it. And I could tell about maybe 5 minutes in, I was just feeling a lot of burning. And after about 25 minutes, I recognized this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He keeps saying the same things over. And so I said to him, you're not doing what I forget the name, I'll fill it in the description box, is supposed to do. I didn't feel confident at all, so I got to go. Anyways, I paid like $90 and I left. And as I was leaving, I noticed something was really wrong. My back was restrained, because other than that, he was doing stretches of my body. This person didn't even understand the basics of a strained back, and this is what they're trained in. By the time I got home to my house, this whole year I'd never been in so much pain, even, excluding my face, but that was when my infection in my face was starting. So it was my face, my back. Anyway, I came here, I was in tears. Doesn't happen very often. I got my money back. I called them and I got my money back. I just wanted to say that. Be careful when you go to someone who calls himself a specialist. Anyways, like a naturopath type thing. But anyways, this person had a doctorate. So I'm going to get into the world right now that we see. I'm going to take a little break so I can think. You're just getting over a strained back. Like it's almost day to day still, but a lot better. And but that day it felt like it was like almost no symptoms. You go for help and you walk away hurt. Like I said in my last video, people I go to, I end up getting hurt by them. And I'm not one of those types of people who will always put the blame, If I think it's my fault, I will tell you. And I don't want to feel like I'm a hypocrite because I guess I would be a hypocrite with this. See, this is just that. AI. I'm training. I'm about halfway done training to be a crisis responder. And you have to do practice. You have to respond in certain ways. You have to study. You have to do a lot of studying for this. And you have to respond in certain ways. And I'm also learning motivational interviewing otherwise besides that. And they're kind of alike. Anyways, I go off base. So in this, there is an AI tool so they can gauge if you're answering correctly. And so I couldn't avoid AI. I had to use AI. I'm telling you guys, I say, if you're into AI, it's no different than being with tarot and all those things. And I guess I'll have to clarify this then. No, I don't think using AI is a good thing. I absolutely don't. I think it is playing with the beast. But it's playing with the beast when you are out of control. So, for instance, I see other Christian YouTubers asking all kinds of questions, like, are you a Nephilim? Are you this? I don't want to come down on those people, but I want to give my opinion on the matter. I don't think it's wise to speak to demons. Is it possible that they're from the things that they're saying back, I absolutely do believe it's possible. And yeah, I think it's possible by some of the responses. Not just Christian YouTubers, by the people who develop them, the things that they see coming out of there. And these things are describing things of what they were, what their names were. I don't know. Everything you and I do, you say, how do these things know how to talk to us? Listen, the devil is the prince of the power of the air. Everything is God's though, but it's under the devil's control right now. God can still intervene at any time if he deems it necessary. But you wonder sometimes, how do they know this about us? They know everything about us, but they can't control a true believer. In your sleep might be different, but so I went to OpenAI myself, and why? Because I'm learning motivational interviewing, and so it's important for me. I'm going to have to use these things. I went to it and I was blown away. I couldn't believe what was coming back on the other side. It was ChatGPT 4, and I started asking it questions. I said, I'd like to do some motivational interviewing. I want to be the addictions counselor and you the addict. It's like, okay, let's do this. It was perfect. I just couldn't believe it. Invaluable tool, but I don't know. Are they, every conversation, is it a demon on the other side? Maybe, maybe not. All I would say to you then is, so there, I've told you the truth now. I'm not a hypocrite because this is necessary for my work, for what I am doing specifically. I can't avoid it. And are you able to control yourself? Can you just have one drink, right? It's the same thing. So I'm not telling people to go on AI, man. But if you're going to use it for something good, and you know how to walk away, and I can tell you something, I used it for about an hour yesterday, and I thought, I want to ask it. I want to ask it, what are you really? Try to be smarter than it. But you get my point. You have to control yourself. And I'm not saying I wouldn't ask that, but I know I shouldn't. So I'm going to get to the world right now. A lot of stuff happening in our world. I'll try to cover as much as I can. I want to look also right now to see if my volume is good, because sometimes it just switches up on me. 100. Like it's supposed to be at 100, and then I'll do a video, like maybe 1 in 50 videos, it will go down to like 50, and you can't hear it. So give me a sec. I don't even know where to start. So there's a lot to cover there in that introduction. We're living in strange times. No matter how bad things seem to be for myself, I'm like, I just want to live my life. I just want to live my life. I remember talking to my pastor, and you remember hearing this. I no longer have this pastor, but I could have been in my second year now of university, but I took the way of thinking that it's going to be over soon, so why bother? But by listening to him and thinking, it's probably better to do this and just go about my life, go get my 2 licenses, my car license, my motorcycle license, go go do things, go into university, go into school, go work, go volunteer. Don't stop those things. It doesn't mean that while you're doing these things you can't think of God. It would be impossible for the thought of our Lord and Savior to go out of my mind. I don't mean it's every single second, but in everything I do. And to always give thanks. A lot of abdominal pain. I'm still taking antibiotics. They do a job on your abdomen. Let's start with this. Never have I seen a more deceptive political campaign, and there never has been. It's worse than the Cold War. It's worse in deception at any time in history. So Jesus Christ was right. Of course he was right. But we know the time is now. And it's done through the internet. And these things could have been done this way before. This is what I know, and this is what, I could write letters, which I did once in a while. Write a letter to my family, email. And I'll say, hey, I love you guys, and I told you all you'll see is destruction from now on. I said that 2 years ago to get them to believe, right? I won't send them a Christian, a biblical message because they won't understand it. But they might understand the destruction and all these other things, and then hopefully they'll come and ask. The way that they've put up Kamala, is just unbelievable. She was absolutely the worst, and all of a sudden they're putting her on a pedestal, and she's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know. I've always been interested in politics. I still am, but I'm not interested in the infighting because I know what it means. I am angered by the inaction of the United States of America. I'm not talking just the Democrats. I'm talking both sides. I see tremendous weakness that I've never seen in my life. Why are they just letting the border stay wide open? That's going to be the biggest threat to you. That is your biggest threat, by the way. You don't know what kind of sleeper cells are there now. And listen, I don't know if Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I don't know all of this stuff. He's, his fruits seem to be pretty good, but the things he says are very questionable. I know he does very good things for people. And the bottom line is, you either let your country, I don't live in the States, I'm Canadian, but it'll affect me just as much as it does you. This coming election, it's going to affect the world more than it does inside the United States itself. Speaking in a generalized term, because of this purposeful, it's all purposeful, you know it. There's one tragedy after the next. They would rather help people who are criminals. They want to take them out of the jails. They want to put them on the streets, and when they go back in, they just let them back out. It's a communist manifesto. That's what's happening. Communism has made its way. You know the flag of the Soviet Union? I don't know if I want to go look at it here because I don't want to disrupt my video, but let me see. Okay, let's look at it. Soviet flag. Let's take a look at it. I forget. They put Soviet flag meaning All you know, it has the sickle on it, and oh, I think I know. Let me see here. I'm trying to figure out what it was, in case you didn't know. I think it was like, you know, it's got its sickle there, and the hammer. But I think they said like every point in that star represents conquering every continent. I'll have to look back into that. But it's something like that. And look what's happened. So all these weak foreign policies are causing wars all over the world. Their errors are spreading everywhere in such a way that you know full well that listen, I don't think that Trump is a savior, okay? Like he can solve, I should have said it that way, that he can solve, because he can only be in there for 4 years, okay? Someone's going to have to come after him. So I do believe he's able to do the things he says to get rid of all the migrants who are illegally there. A lot of criminals, because a lot of these people have come from jails. What Trump says is true. They ridded their countries, like the South American countries, of their problems that were weighing down, costing them money. They emptied their jails. Just insane. They know they have people on the border that monitor people who are coming through, even though when no action is being taken, they'll still monitor and try to track these people. I don't know how much time we really have, but like, for instance, I'm just about to go in school, and all of a sudden there could be a civil war. And I live in Canada, which is right next to the States, and although Canada has a lot of guns too, not nearly as much as the U.S., it worries me, and it should worry you all over the world what happens there. They're the linchpin of the world. So either if they tamper with the election, the only way they're going to win is if they tamper with it. That's what I believe. If they get back in again, not Trump but Harris, this world is going to see a lot of hell. You're going to see the 4 horsemen ride. You're going to see everything. Well, I'm not going to say, but it's going to be like the last time that when they got in, after Trump, when Biden got in, the first thing they did was they took away all the energy, drilling permits and stuff like this. They cut off everything that was good. They reversed everything good that Trump did. They essentially destroyed the economy. The economy was pretty much gutted. And every other day we're hearing like a bank is going down. Yes, there's a lot of propaganda, but there's a lot of truth to it. These are major news stations saying our economy could go down. Now, it's not as bad, but think of, as it gets closer to the actual election, you know what, they're not even hiding it, right? Even close to the election. They're not even giving help to these hurricane survivors. People have gone through this, now it's 2 hurricanes with that FEMA and stuff. Wow. They gave money to the migrants instead of can you imagine the things if they get back in power, what they're going to do, that they're just waiting to do, that they have waiting in the wings already? So it's up to God. It's up to God to tell. Either we have 4 years of somewhat stability, but because of Matthew 24 and all the signs we see, obviously there's still going to be a lot of things going on. I don't know, to tell you the truth, but based on that biblical knowledge, right, of Luke 21 and Matthew 24, we will know the times and the seasons. Who knows? Maybe it will have some type of pause, but look at all the wars happening throughout the world. All the countries that you would have never ever thought in that would ever happen. Remember, before all of everything started, before, let's say, 2020, Iran was like a pariah of the world. No one would go near them. No one would affiliate with them, except for maybe Russia in, covert ways, I don't know, through Syria and all these types of things. North Korea was also, right? But once they put all these sanctions and stuff on everything, other countries realized we don't want the states to be able to sanction anyone, rule over us. So we're going to develop BRICS, and all of a sudden, before you know it, Ezekiel 38, all these countries are coming together. Obviously the Ukraine war, that's a massive war. And by the way, there's probably more than 1 million people dead for sure. There is more than 1 million dead for sure. It's a war that's never been seen. Why? Because I'm having a hard time here, guys. Because we've never had a war like this before. Literally, in real time, drone armies. Like, you can literally see people in their foxholes putting up their hands. Flamethrower drones. Like, it's insane. You can see this watch in real time. And that's where the propaganda took off. There was propaganda with this, you know that. But when it got to that, that's when things really took a turn. A lot of evil. A lot of evil. And, I know the truth of it. I know that the U.S. is behind it. But I also know and believe that Russia is also responsible. At first I didn't think so, but I do. I think Putin is an evil man. There's a lot of evils on both sides. Sure, they didn't want them on their border, and that's understandable. But I believe that when you see all these migrants, who do you think's paying them to come to the border? You think all of a sudden this just happened? I believe it's doing it to Europe, and I believe it's doing it to the U.S. You think he felt good after he was a KGB colonel and he watched the Soviet Union go down? He didn't want that to happen. You don't think he has anything to do with this? So, although I'm giving some political, I'm just giving you the reality of the things I see. Pardon me, guys. It's my mouth and my abdomen. How many times have you heard them talk about either a nuclear threat or new launches, new tests, all that type of stuff? There's been a lot of them. There's been a lot of threats, more probably combined by far than the whole 40 or 50 years of the Cold War. The question is, in every war, near its end and stuff, I remember, who was it? It was John Kennedy who said this. President Kennedy, he said, there's some son of a bitch that always doesn't get the message. So that happened, right when you're about to make peace, all of a sudden there's a mistake that happens. And the one that he was talking about was a nuclear bomber that kept 24-hour flights of nuclear bombers that would fly close to Russia. One didn't get the message and thought it was, he almost could have bombed Russia when they were trying to make peace on that very day. Or days. What happens in the States dictates what happens throughout the whole world. I'm not trying to give you a biblical message right now. I'm trying to give you the reality of the world. But it is, in essence, it is. I'm speaking Luke 21 and Matthew 24. And you look, and you can just look at the World Economic Forum and all the things that, all their ideologies are like Justin Trudeau, Macron, and all these people who are super rich. They're all rich. They have no real association with the people, the middle class, all that type of stuff. You can look in each individual country right now and see major problems in every one. Look at Canada. Canada was the nice, we still are, but it's only because of the time that Trudeau has been in. Look what their government has switched around, the LGBTQ, laws that are against us, medical assistance in dying, most people in the world. It's like 10% of deaths are, many of them anyways, of deaths per year. Throwing people in prison for certain things. Look at the UK. They have it's like the Minority Report. You did this, you posted this. They're throwing people in jail for that. You have Islam taking over the UK. You have riots of Islam and like all over the UK. You have it in like they're all throughout Europe now. I think these countries have had enough. Look at Italy, look at Germany. Look at Germany's industry gone down because of Nord Stream. Look at the companies that have moved like BASF. That's a huge company, a chemical company. I think they moved to China. Am I right? I'm pretty sure that's what they were going to do, or they were forced to do. It could be a powerhouse, but the Nord Stream, probably done by Ukraine or the States. I knew that from the beginning. Why was that? That was the most major corruption. Because what people didn't realize, and I didn't realize right away, was so the U.S. could ship them stuff at 4 times the cost. And then when Israel goes to say, hey, we found a major gas field and we're going to ship this to you, all of a sudden they want to cut it off somehow. You look between Turkey and Greece, you look in the Balkans, you look, there's looking to be wars primed everywhere. You look in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, whatever these places, Iraq, Iran. You see the communists taking over South America, except for Argentina. That guy's funny. You see elections all over the world being rigged and set up. It's really sick. I'm going to try to keep elaborating on this. This wasn't here. This wasn't here in 2020. Something happened that triggered it all. And to say that this isn't biblical would probably be a lie. There has never been a time like this. But I also don't want to dwell on it either. I feel sorry for you if you're stuck in it. Meanwhile, they're like trying to kill Christians all over China and India, burning down churches. And you look in North America, Canada, and the U.S., you talk about being weak. Where did all these terrorist sympathizers come from. You want to see them in prison. In the 1920s, have you seen the movie? And I recommend this movie. I do, so you can understand what we're facing right now in the US, in Canada, in the Western countries. It's communism. Leonardo DiCaprio plays J. Edgar Hoover. And it was J. Edgar Hoover, I say God bless his soul for what he did. He developed the FBI on his own because of all the communists, because in the late teens and 20s into the 30s, the Soviets had people in here, sympathizers. They would have their own presses, printing presses, putting out pamphlets to people, spreading the communist agenda. They were bombing places. So what happened was they got rid of them. They sent them back. They extradited them. They got rid of them. They deported them. And it's necessary right now. What's necessary right now is to get all the sympathizers out of the country. They could have a trial, sure, if something's in question. But if they're a pure sympathizer, see you later. Same with, so it's that. You get the communists gone too. Then you'll find you have peace. But if it's by God, we can't stop it. But what I see is weakness. So they got into all types of parliament, Congress, senates, churches. That's probably where it began. If I didn't suffer with such terrible abdominal pain, I could really elaborate on this. I could. You know, if you have faith in Jesus Christ, there's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason to be afraid. It's almost like the verse, right? Be anxious for nothing, but by prayer and supplications to God. Yes, even though it says be anxious for nothing, it doesn't mean that you and I aren't going to feel anxious. It's a frame of mind to always remember that faith and everything that you and I go through. It's not to say you're not going to feel anxiety. I find it truly amazing that this is like World War I, Franz Ferdinand. There was so much stuff going on. There was so much fighting everywhere, debating. It just took a spark. I've already watched political arguments. We are there. And you think of Daniel where it says, no, there will never be a time like this. And that will be when Revelation takes place. But I believe you and I will be saved because we are not of darkness, right? That's what it says. That's what Paul says. They will not escape. Where will that spark come from? But God. You say, how hasn't it happened yet? They got like F-16s, and other countries are giving F-16s now to Ukraine, and even Macron wants to give Mirage fighters to them, Mirage 2000 fighters. They're giving the okay, the U.S. giving okay to bomb inside Russia again. Think about this. Think of all the indiscriminate bombing that Putin did. Thousands of missiles. Everything he did, plus all his artillery and whatever else. There's a lot of dead people. There's a lot of people who want revenge, and that's what is so rampant in the world right now. Revenge. Our world is primed. You know how many weapons there are out there? Take away the unconventional weapons. Take away the nuclear weapons. The weapons that are in our world are insane. You have no idea. They have not used what they could. Chemical weapons and all kinds of biological weapons. I watched throughout the last 20 and 30 years all the weapons deals worth many billions of dollars to countries like Saudi Arabia and to Israel and to all countries. And all those weapons basically haven't been used. And that's why it'll be the worst time. It's in God's control whether or not a nuclear bomb goes off. Not to mention, this is what got my attention the other day. So we're waiting for Israel to do its thing, right? You don't know what's going to happen. I do think Iran is scared, and they're right at the brink of what I believe could fulfill both the Damascus one and the bow of the lamb. I think they're at their weakest, but there's something I heard. Obviously, I think if it's true, and that 4.5 Richter scale earthquake, if that 4.5 scale Richter earthquake was manufactured as they measured it, 10 kilometers under the earth, if it was truly manufactured as there's people who measure these and study these, that they say it was manufactured, that it was a weapons test, a nuclear test, because that's about what it would go at, before around the 4 Richter scale, maybe 3.5 to 4.5. That could mean that they're doing that test because they're ready to do it, because they know they're coming after Iran now, right? Or, yes, I do believe they have nuclear weapons. But if they didn't, they could also take thousands of tons of TNT and make it look like they do to scare Israel from not responding. Israel's going to respond. I don't know what's going to happen, because I think of, the book of Zechariah that says 1/3 of Israel, 2/3 will die. But I don't think it'll happen while you and I are here. People who have true faith in God. Or he hides us. I don't know what's going to happen. He will protect us. That's all I'm going to say. I don't get into those debates. Give me a sec. I got to pace. I've been talking for almost an hour. I'm not afraid to say it. Islam is the enemy of the world. I'm sick and tired of hearing that there's anything good about it. Because if you go through their Quran, they make the distinction that, if it says something bad in the Quran, then you look to they say, look in the Old Testament, it says this about slavery. That was a long, long time ago. It's not like that now. But it says in the Quran, and I don't know if it's their surah, to kill a Christian and a Jew. That is enough in itself. I've watched the arguments by the son of Hamas. He's excellent to watch. He'll put you in your place if you think you're smart. Just on that, that's an order in their book at all times to kill a Christian and a Jew. I don't know. I have to reread that, but I know it's true. Then there's a major problem. People say, there's peaceful Muslims. It's the devil religion. It is the problem of this world. Christianity is peace and love. Do you ever wonder why these Muslim countries are not doing well? It's because of that. Anyways, I think you're about to see the fall of Iran eventually. That's what I believe is going to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen with these, with nuclear or whatever. I don't know. Well, I think that's about it. I don't know what else I'm going to say. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to read a scripture. So hard to stand here for this long, man. It really is. No, that's not it. Romans 13. So, if you've read my book, which I'm not endorsing, you'll know why I'm reading this. Because something happened to me that changed my life. And this verse is one of the reasons that I felt that my life was going to be changed. Just give me another second. Romans 13:11. We are at this time right now. Not easy for me to realize all these things are happening in the world, and people who are living in virtual, although our laws are all messed up, still peaceful countries. We don't see all the stuff that's happening. Eventually it will. I don't, I'm not going to say exactly what's going to happen, but there's a dark cloud over every single country. Excuse me. And there's other countries, by the way, that are falling apart, like Haiti and all that type of stuff. And do this, knowing the time, that now is high time to awake out of sleep. For now our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Therefore let us cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk properly, as in the day, not in revelry and drunkenness, not in lewdness and lust, not in strife and envy, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ. Put on the Lord Jesus Christ. And make no provision for the flesh, the lusts, to fulfill its lusts. I feel like that was a Batman thing. And do this, knowing the time is now high time to wake out of sleep for our salvation. I don't know, I just felt like Batman there. It came, well, I don't even want to say that now. I've said it in my video what happened to me. I don't want to get into that because that's a whole other thing. Well, I believe God sent me a message. But you'd have to, you ever want to know what that is? I don't want to get into that. Just like I want to be humble about what happened to me. I don't want to go around saying to everyone this happened. I'm just not one of those types of people. I got a message and it was this. And it was in the worst time of my life. But it was in a time where things were changing. And I believe God sent me this, or he directed it to me. I started getting diagnosis of my spine to find out what was wrong in my neck in 3 places. I got my autism diagnosis, I got my throat diagnosis, got my abdominal diagnosis, I got my full body intractable pain diagnosis. This is what I read. Go read Romans 13:11 to 14. Just go to Romans 13 and read 11 and read the rest. I pray for everyone in this. I've already prayed for you already, and I hope you pray for me. So there's a lot happening now. Well, what happens in the U.S. will be anxious for nothing. You can say that about that. But it certainly will be interesting to see what happens. I think it's in the hands of God. But I also think, God lets things play out. Remember that too. So it doesn't hurt to pray for something good. God bless.